his own reckoning. He does not think that it should be an offense for anybody to carry placard or for anybody to say that he's hungry in Nigeria, and that when people want to overthrow government, they don't do so with fire extinguishers, that the police, demonstrating such gross incompetence, is saying that people are going to use fire extinguishers to overthrow Tinubu. They are going.
Guys, today, Rufai Oseni and Dr. Ruben Abbati literally set studio on fire. They lambasted Attorney General of Nigeria, Fagbemi, you understand, over for justifying the detaining of Nigeria case minor for several months. Guys, please watch this video. I like the way they lambasted him, and please share. Let's use it to enlighten the world. All right.
Has jurisdiction to conduct trial for people within the age bracket of those arraigned this November, an event that sparked nationwide outrage. He says President Bola Tinubu, however, exercised a fatherly gesture by ordering the release of the 119 suspects who were arraigned for treason after taking part in the End Bad Governance protests in August.
People were under the impression that because they are children, they are minors, all sorts of theories have come up. There is no law in this country which says a minor cannot be tried. And I've also heard, they should go to a family court. A study of the law and the Constitution leaves you to no other conclusion that it is the Federal High Court that has jurisdiction in matters bordering on treason and allied matters. So the chapter is, but whatever the situation, the president has closed the chapter by his decision to have these young men released. Thank you.
Okay, well, that is the Minister of Justice.
So I get taken aback when the Minister of Justice says this. Yes, he can quote law. He's a man of law. But I quote common sense and rationality. As these states, the Nigerian states, been able to investigate and know those that sent those kids and gave them the flags? I thought they said they arrested a tailor. From their investigation, were they able to get who sent the tailor? Or was the tailor just so happy all of a sudden he started sewing Russian flags? Except we get to those that really perpetrated and orchestrated all of this, we are not going to move anywhere in this country. So are they telling us that the tailor that they picked up that was sewing the Russian flag just woke up one morning and say, oh yeah, let me sew a Russian flag, so that they will put it and be waving it everywhere? You know, we deceive ourselves too much. So I would have expected the people to be able to investigate, go to the nitty-gritty of it, and see the people that were doing this. We can't deceive ourselves. These kids were just victims of circumstance and a failure of the Nigerian states. You think if these kids have the opportunity the kids of the politician had, and they were in school, and they had food, they had education, the state catered to them, you think they will bring them on the road and push them out as protesters and give them flags for them to hold and let them damage property? How many of their own kids, the big politicians in this country, go out to damage property? So let's call a spade a spade. And him saying President Tinubu did it based on his fatherly love. What was he supposed to do? Continue with the bad optics to our country? I'll tell you a story like I told the last time. I met somebody recently. He said as of 1978, he was quite very lean. And they were making jokes about him in Croatia that he grew up, that he's a Biafra kid. That optics have not left the mindset of a lot of people. So do we know the image? As regards law and everything, there's something also called international image of a country. You don't know the image of what it means for them to have kids locked up for 3 months. So we can quote the law all we want. But the thing we should also remind ourselves is the rationality. But these people were the people you could apprehend, you could arrest. I'm sure you heard the Minnors tell the story of the torture they had gone through. They were not only just arrested 3 months prior, they were also tortured. How they were taken from barracks to barracks. So he didn't see all of that. and they're charging kids for treason. And even the mindset of charging protesters for treason is the shocking thing in this country. What about people that have done more harm to this country? We live in a country where politicians don't even have their certificates. It's a case of controversy. We live in a country where all sorts of lies are going on, where people will tell you that they went to a school and the school had not even started before they graduated from the school. Where's the public integrity with that one? When people come out to protest, you shut them down, you try them for treason, you criminalize protest. This was a protest that after you campaigned bitterly, and people should not come out to do. But these are the same people that protested when they needed to protest at this point. These people did occupy Nigeria. Let's stop deceit in this country if we want to grow.
Okay, Lateef Fagbemi SAN is a highly respected, person in the legal profession, senior advocate of Nigeria. So on the points of law, he's right. That, look, minors can be arrested. After all, under the law, he talked about jurisdiction. The fact that you are a young person does not mean you can commit crime. And that's why we have Bostal homes, juvenile courts. That's why we have all of that within the infrastructure of justice administration in Nigeria, as is also, the case elsewhere. However, this is, with due respect, this point is not about jurisdiction. It's not about whether everybody is liable under the rule of law. It's about process. It's about procedure. And I would like to tell the learned silk that, look, the issues that have been raised in the public domain have not been resolved. And what are these issues? That these juveniles, 29 of them, out of 130 who were involved, they were remanded in police custody. They were detained in very difficult circumstances that would seem to violate their rights under the Nigerian Constitution, sections 35 and 36 thereof, and under international conventions, and also under subsidiary legislations in Nigeria, the Child Rights Act of 2003 and the Children and Young Persons Act. These are the things that people are talking about. That even if it is not a child, you cannot detain a child or anybody for 97 days. Secondly, even if you say a child has committed an offense or whatever, you don't have right to violate their right to human dignity under Section 34. Or to say that these persons, have been charged for offenses on the basis of the fact that they were carrying placards. So these are the major issues. And I think it is from the president being properly informed in this regard that he had to instruct the Inspector General of Police and the Attorney General of the Federation to exercise his rights under sections 174 and 211 of the 1999 Constitution, which he has done. He has also directed that an administrative committee should be set up to look into what happened, the circumstances, and all of that, and for that administrative committee to report back to government. It was also in this regard that the Inspector General of Police has also said that the police is investigating what happened in detention facilities, to the extent that the president also made the point that any officer that may have been involved in abuse of power and office and negligence and behaving ultra-vires should be investigated and appropriate sanctions should be recommended. What I expect the learned Attorney General, to be talking about should be how far this government has gone with the administrative committee and what the police have done, with their own investigations about how rights have been abused of these minors and rights that could border on crimes against humanity. After all, we are all here when those children were presented in audience before the president, and many of them appeared in Ashebi, children who were denied food. We are also here in this same country. We have seen some of the state governments where those children come from. I think Kano specifically, is it Kaduna? I don't know the specific state now. But where they've been treated so well. Some of them have even been given iPhones, smartphones to use. They've suddenly become members of the elite. The same people who were accused of trying to overwhelm the president of Nigeria. I think the Nigerian government should restrict itself to apologia and also to the fact that, many things were mismanaged. Only 3 days ago, Femi Falana, SAN, was saying that apart from these 29 children, minors that have been received, the remaining 101 persons who were involved in that matter, should also be released by the Attorney General of the Federation. Because in his own reckoning, he does not think that it should be an offense for anybody to carry placard or for anybody to say that he is hungry in Nigeria, and that when people want to overthrow government, they don't do so with fire extinguishers, that the police, demonstrating such gross incompetence, is saying that people are going to use fire extinguishers to overthrow Tinubu. They are going to use placard or Russian flag. No, I spoke about how ludicrous this is, but I add the word that it is farcical, and we should focus on the core issues with due respect.
Absolutely. I think it's very critical that one is not selective in their application of due process, because I'm not a lawyer, but I understand he has quoted sections of the law which Dr. Abati has confirmed to be right and accurate. But what about every other thing that was not right and accurate in this process? As Dr. Abati has said, some of these young people have now been gifted sums of 100,000 naira, smartphones in their respective states. What happened to the rehabilitation we spoke of? I hope that these things are not being done in place of the real work that needs to be done to rehabilitate these young people. Lest we forget that yesterday a story broke that there's a new terrorist group that has been confirmed in northern Nigeria called the Lukarawa, that is said to be infiltrating from Libya, from Niger, from Mali. So what are we doing to ensure that these children are protected from the real threat to society, from the real existential threat of being radicalized and indoctrinated into these terrible groups that promised them heaven and earth? Because surely 100,000 naira and a smartphone is not enough. It doesn't even begin to scratch the surface on what needs to be done. We've already advocated for vocational training. We've already advocated for rehabilitation in the form of counseling. But apart from that, one major thing we cannot ignore is what this entire charade exposed, which is something we are already familiar with, but it was a reminder of the fact that our justice system needs work and attention. I brought some statistics here before, I'll bring them again, which is that 13.7% of children in detention are reported to be well fed. So that means that you have about 86% of children who are in detention who are not being well fed. 12.9%, only 12.9% were given adequate hygiene materials and materials to look after themselves. So that means that the majority of children, juveniles, who are going through this justice system, whether it be through the Federal High Court, as the Minister of Justice has alluded to, or whether it be through those family courts that he's speaking to, it doesn't seem that any of those scenarios is helpful to them. And what do we expect when we put children through this process? Okay, fine, now we say the president has demonstrated a fatherly gesture in ensuring that they return home. But it can't just be about releasing them and sending them home. The other day, we were all in agreement here that it's almost like sending these young people back into the fire. We're sending them back into the theater of war without the requisite support, without the requisite changes that need to be done. So as much as we appreciate the articles of the law that legalize their arraignment, we also need to pay close attention to those articles of the law that protect their human rights.